Hi everyone. So today I want to teach you guys how to create this little image here in Blender. Um, I got this idea from a bejeweled scene that a friend suggested to me. So basically, we're just going to go through, take a few of these diamond gems here, and create a few of them. So I have that scene already open here in Blender. You can see it's a very simple setup. It's just like a few diamonds here, a little bit of compositing, and we'll be using cycles for this. So you can just open up a new scene in Blender, switch it to cycles render, have that as default. I'm just going to delete everything. Next, what I'm going to do is open up a UV image editor and find where I put that bejeweled image. And since I already have it open, you can just click image, open image, and locate your file. What I'm going to do here is just take it and drag it in. So now we have some reference material to work off of. So let's start with this blue one here. And the way we're going to do this is we go under File, User Preferences, Add-ons. This just might take a few seconds to load. Okay, we can just type in here extra, and it should pop up. Add mesh extra objects. We want to use this add-on. And the reason why is we're going to make this a whole lot easier than modeling this by hand. So Shift A, after we have that installed, extra objects, gemstones, and we use a diamond. So we get the basic shape of this, but we need to take the segments way down to about an 8. Looks like it should be good. And then we can just expand this. Go to the girdle radius, which we can bring down to about 0.5, maybe a little bit bigger, 0.6. The table radius, bring down that to about, let's go 0.29. We get this crown height, which we should bring down a little bit. Just go to the front view and check this out. You can see it looks pretty close. Let me bring up this crown height just a little bit. And we can add more segments if we need to. I'm going to keep mine at 8. And we also get this pavilion height, which is basically like the bottom little spike there. So there we go. We got that diamond done very quickly. So that's just one way you can make these. And basically, what I'm trying to show you is the most fundamental ways of creating these shapes without doing too much work. So next I'm going to show you how to create this this little shape right here, this triangle. So to do that, I used a plane, and these two I just merged at center, and that's how you get this little shape here. So next, we just want to select the edges of this and extrude them out. Scale it a little bit. Pull it down. And then we just duplicate this. If we use the comma key, we can now rotate around this little cursor. So rotate on the Y 180 degrees. Bring this down just a little bit. You can see it looks almost exactly like that. Now we can just, if we remove doubles, it's now one solid object instead of those two pieces. So if I grab this edge, the whole thing moves, or the whole edge moves. So that is now one solid object, and that was done in like 30 seconds to make this object. So these are just like simple ways you can make some of these. So one last one I'll do is this gem here. You can see that's somewhat like this green one here with the giant arrow pointing on it. And without almost any work, we can see that they're almost exact, right? And there's about looks like 5 sides to this, or sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just bump that back up to 8. And see, the radius is just, like very simple tools to use. We need to change the pavilion height to about 0.2, roughly. But I think we're just going to delete that bottom half, and what we're going to do is do the same thing we did with the triangle shape, and just duplicate. So duplicate it, rotate around the y-axis 180 degrees. Bring this down, holding down Control to snap to increments. And we get this right up to there. Should be able to just remove doubles. Now if we just select one of these vertices, you can see it's one solid object, just like that. So there we go. We got all our gems made. If you would like to make more, you can go right ahead. But just for this example, I'm just making just these few here. And we'll move this plane to layer 4. I like to keep my objects on separate layers. It somewhat helps. So yeah, I'll set my camera and everything up on this layer here, on layer 4. Rotate this around the x-axis, period to snap to the cursor here. And we can just toggle all these layers with your tiled key, which should be right next to your 1 on the top numbers there. So let's set some of these out. We'll just hit comma. It'll return to the snapping to the object here. It appears I put my camera on the wrong side. Let me just go like this here. That's a good view of this. So the next part here will basically be me teaching you how to set materials in cycles. And this will involve using the actual node system. So yeah, it's confuses a lot of people, but I know some people actually find the cycles render engine easier to use than the Blender internal. And that's not the only reason I'm using the cycles engine right now, but the other reason is that the Blender internal engine is actually being discontinued because it's not as powerful as the cycles, and most of the work hasn't been developed with the Blender internal for about a year or 2, I think. So that's quite a long time of not working on a render engine. So now we're just going to add new materials to this and quickly name them. This one will be like the green gem. And just giving them super simple names: green, blue, and purple. But of course, you can call them whatever you want, make whatever colors you want with them. Yeah. So next thing we'll do is just add a few lighting, and we'll just name this light under emission here. Let's just rotate this. See, just move it back a little bit there. And then if we turn this on to rendered view, we can turn this light up to about 10. So you get a nice cover lighting. And if we duplicate this, let's just rotate around this little point here, RZ180, and turn this one down to about 5. I believe they're the same ones, so we'll need to have a new material for this. Okay, now to set up materials. So to do this, we're just going to select one of these here. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Giving a new material to this. Let's call this light 1. And we'll just rename this to light 2. And this one we'll give it a emission value of 10. Make sure our scene is nice and bright. Although we will be doing some compositing to make it even nicer. So here we go. If you find that you're rendering your scene at very slow rates, you might see that your feature set is experimental or supported, and you may have different devices. So quickly going to show you, in case you haven't already done this or you don't know yet, how to set up cycles for GPU rendering. So I have a GeForce GTX 560M, which has CUDA technology from NVIDIA, and you can choose your compute device to be CUDA if you have CUDA, or you may possibly have OpenCL. If possible, choose CUDA, but if you have OpenCL, I would choose that also over the CPU. And what you can do is, under feature set, you might want to go supported. Experimental might be where you want to go if you have OpenCL. And then under device, you have CPU and GPU. If you have CPU chosen, you also get the shading language, which is either Open Shading Language or GPU compatible. Open Shading Language, or OSL for short, is something new to Blender. I think it was developed by Sony. It's just like a way you can actually code what you want your material to look like. But I believe it's like C code or C++, which is very difficult. I know from personal experience. So you might not want to choose that. So you just choose device, GPU, compute, and then it will render through your GPU. Okay, so now onto materials. What we want to do is go into your node editor and select material down here. We can just close this right here. Now what we want to do is quickly set up how we want these materials. And I just had an idea here of what we're going to do, which is we're just going to copy and paste these nodes after to make it a little easier for us. So what we'll do is we're going to keep this diffuse, but we're going to add in a few shader nodes. We want to add in a glass because we want it to be a little bit clear. And there's one more, which is, if I remember right, a mix shader. So we just add this in, and then this right here. And we can choose the diffuse color. You can see this is what we're going to name this one purple. We have it named purple, so obviously going to have it as purple. We can just go rendered here, and as you can see, we get this really nice effect. And one thing I'm going to quickly do is go under, I believe it is sampling, right here under samples, and our preview render set the same. So let's set up our preview to about let's go 25, and now it's tracing a few more samples here, and it's less fuzzy. Our render will be, let's say, a good amount will be 400, I guess. If we quickly render that, and you can see here that our CPU is not doing as much work as it normally would, which is about 100% on my computer, what it usually does. Because GPU is actually rendering this. And when the GPU is rendering, it's a bit faster, and also doesn't take up as much resources in your CPU here. So just wait a few more seconds for this to finish here. So yeah, you can see that it's a little bit less fuzzy. So what we'll do now is we can move on to the next one, because I think that's pretty good. And what we'll do is we'll just select these three nodes here. We'll copy them. I believe we can copy nodes. Apparently not. Let's see if we just hit Control C and then select one of these, and Control V. You can see here that we actually have our nodes right away. And then all we have to do is change the color of it, and this makes your workflow much faster. So just delete this one. Oops, just the one node. Control V. Move these over, and Control C and Control V. I think they're about almost as universal as they get when it comes to buttons. you can basically use Control V and Control C to copy and paste just about anything in any program. Let's just change this color green a little bit. Select this blue, and I'm going to just brighten it up a little bit. Alrighty then, so those are basically how we're going to make these gems. So now that that's finished, what we'll do is we'll go over to this world editor here, this world nodes, and actually instead of going right here, we're going to over to the compositing interface. It's pre-set up. It's set up to a very interesting looking way where we can actually I don't know how to explain this. It's just the way I like to actually do this is in this type of setup, because I find it is a lot nicer to actually work with. Let's just plug these in to our viewer node. If we hit Alt V, we can increase the background image. Just click this button here, and it will quickly finish ray tracing. To make this a little bit quicker, I'm just going to pause the video while it renders and start again after it's finished. Okay, so this is finished rendering, and this is what it looks like. It's a little bit of a dull scene, but to give you an idea of what we're going to do, this is my pre-composite scene here for my test, and this is what it came out as after. So it went from dark to quite light, and right now you can see that this is not exactly the brightest of images. It's a little bit dull. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go full screen over here, Control up arrow, and we have a render layer here, which is what we're going to need. So right now we don't really need this composite, so we're just going to delete it out of there for now. We're going to go to color and RGB curves, and what this does is you can basically brighten up an image quite drastically very fast, like that, or we can even darken it. Get like that kind of air of mystery. And depending on where you place this, it'll increase the white values or the black values, or so basically it's whatever this little dot is. And you can add multiple little dots here to get a nice little effect there. Oops. It's an RGB curve. So yeah, just put this into the image socket, this into the viewer node, and just brighten up the image. And I think right there is about good. So next what we're going to do is we're going to take these individual diamonds here and kind of change their colors a little bit to match the lighting. So this green here is basically like an overlay green. Or this is the whole overlay color, right? So you might want to keep that closer to the center, but I'm going to change it a little bit to a lighter color of blue, because these three colors have a little bit of blue in common, right? So green has a little bit of blue tinge to it, same with purple. I'm not entirely sure what colors combine to make them, but I know that there are colors that combine to make purple. I just don't quite remember. And this is basically just changing the color to brighten them up just a little bit. And this thing can be quite difficult to get used to, this little color balance. But if you use it enough times, it'll become like child's play. So next we're just going to use this hue correct. And we're going to take these purple values up by quite a bit. Kind of bring that purple out. These blue values up a little bit, this lighter type of blue. Down just a little bit. And then the green, just bring that up. Alright. And to give it a little bit of a more interesting effect, this is not something I did with the original, but we'll go here, so let's change this from soften to sobel. And it'll give it like an interesting little space look. And the reason I'm doing this is when I was doing my update video, when I was compositing it, I added one of these in, but slowed down the render way too much to even basically render on my machine here. Because I had a giant node setup just to composite the little diamond into the scene properly. But basically, this is what it does to it. It makes it kind of look interesting, this little filter node. And there's different types of things you can do, like soften, sharpen. Sharpen, you don't really want to have that up too high, so let's just put that down to like 0.2 to show you. And we also have replace, shadow, cursed. I think I pronounced that right. It gives an interesting effect. Pre-wet, and my favorite, which is Sobel. And I'm just going to turn that back up to 0.8. Maybe down a little bit. And it gives you like this space age effect. Now, of course, you don't need this in there. You can keep it the way it was, which is just something like this. But I'm going to add that in there to give it a really interesting looking effect. So one last thing we're going to do is add in a color node, which is I believe it's gamma. This isn't it. This might change it to black and white values. This just brightens it up. Okay, so I believe it's color correct. Tone map, here we go. Sorry about that. I haven't quite used this node too much. But basically it evens out the tones, as far as I can tell. Bring up the contrast a little bit. Intensity. Let's bring this up to 0.5. And there we go. Have an interesting looking image here. And if we go over here, just render it one more time. Oops. One thing we should always remember is if you delete the composite node, you need to add it back in or else it will not render. So now if we go here, it is finished. So yeah, just if you want, you can save that, just F3, and then you can save it wherever you want. But basically, this is how you make these bejeweled diamonds in Blender, composite, render, and whatnot. And I highly encourage you to go and create the rest of these if you wish, to improve your ability to actually make these with the tools I just showed you. So one last thing before I let you leave here is a little sneak peek into one of my upcoming tutorials here. This is this little alien head I made today. It took me about half an hour to sculpt this out, and basically what I'm going to show you in a future tutorial is how to make this using dynamic topology in one of the Blender sculpting builds. But by the time it comes out, it may be in the official release, which is 2.66. Right now it's 2.65. But I'm using a Blender build, which I found it's on my machine here. And I can quickly show you where I got the build from. Graphical. Graphical.org, by the way, is where you can find Blender builds for different new features that you want to start using. It's all the beta testing. So we go under. Let's see. I believe it was this one. You might have to do a little bit of searching. But this one here was updated December 23rd, 2012. So actually not too long ago. And it basically allows you to do dynamic topology, which is it turns this completely into a triangulated mesh, and you don't have to worry about topological constraints, right? So I'm not going to get too much into that now. That's all for this tutorial. So yeah, happy blending.